I currently have two Capital One cards, and one of them has a limit of $3,000, while the other one has a limit of $7,000. These are both the limits I started with, and there is a reason why one card has a limit that's more than double the other card. My card that has a $3,000 limit is the Business Spark 1% Classic card. If you notice, right under the card it says Credit Building. Now, when I applied for this card, my credit score was in the mid 700s, so I'm not really sure why I applied for this card, but you live and you learn. You also notice a little below that it says this card is for people with fair credit. And the last thing I want to point out is this almost 31% interest rate. Now, as you can see, there are also 5 other versions of the Spark card, and they all have their own perks for people with different credit scores. The higher the credit tier, the more perks the card comes with. There are 2 versions of the Spark 1.5% Cash Select card, and at first glance, they look pretty identical, but one version is for people with good credit, and this version does not have a sign-up bonus, and the interest rate is a lot higher than the version for excellent credit. But this version does give you 0% APR for 12 months, which when used responsibly can be a great tool. The Spark 1.5% Cash Select for excellent credit has a sign-up bonus, lower interest rates, but does not offer a promotional APR period. I'm willing to bet that if I applied for the Spark 1.5% Cash Select for excellent credit, my credit limit would have been at least $5,000. The reason I was given a $3,000 credit limit is because Capital One uses a system called bucketing. Bucketing is when they place you in a group based on your credit worthiness, which is why each card either says rebuilding credit, fair credit, good credit, or excellent credit. These 4 categories represent 4 different levels of credit risk, and Capital One places you in your bucket as soon as you apply for your card. The bucket determines your credit limit and how much this limit can increase in the future. So for example, I have never applied for a credit limit on the Spark card because I prefer not to use that card anymore. But if I did, it's almost guaranteed that that limit would be small, and every increase after that is likely to be low as well because I applied for the fair version, and to Capital One, I look like a risk, even though when I applied for the card, my credit score was in the mid 700s. The second Capital One credit card I have is the Quicksilver Rewards card for excellent credit. This card has a sign-up bonus, 0% interest for 15 months, and the lowest interest rate on any of the Capital One Quicksilver cards. My credit limit upon approval was $7,000, and I'm willing to bet that if I did apply for an increase on this card, it would be a lot higher, and I would get them more frequently than I would with my Capital One Spark card. So if you are applying for credit limit increases and constantly getting denied, it's probably because you applied for a card for people with fair credit, and Capital One is trying to protect themselves. And the only solution to this is applying for a brand new card so that you have a new open account and therefore placed in a new bucket. Product changing will not work for this situation because you will just have a new card with the same account, and therefore you will be in the same bucket. So if you started with the Capital One Quicksilver One rewards card for fair credit, you can apply for the Capital One Quicksilver rewards card, or maybe even the Venture X card. This will place you in a new and hopefully higher bucket where you will start off with a higher credit limit and get more frequent credit limit increases. And because of this whole bucketing system, a lot of people think it's best to avoid Capital One, but I actually disagree. Trying to get your first credit card can be really difficult, and if Capital One is willing to give you a card just with a little bit of boundaries, I think it makes sense. This way you can build credit, number 1, and then number 2, you can learn how to responsibly use your credit card and start off with a low limit so you don't get yourself into too much trouble if you do end up in some trouble. Could you imagine if you never had any experience with credit, still learning your spending habits, still trying to understand the concept of saving, still learning self-control and learning how to not be an impulse buyer, and you started off with a $10,000 credit limit? And then once you have more credit history and a higher score, now you can go ahead and apply for a card that you can better handle. If you are unsure which card to apply for, you can always use the pre-approval tool, but just be careful because getting pre-approved doesn't always mean that you actually have a good chance of actually being approved. Pre-approval is just the company conducting a soft pull and extracting very surface level information. And then once you actually apply and they do a hard inquiry, they might find things that they do not like and then decide to deny your application, which is super frustrating because now you have a hard inquiry and no new card. I feel Capital One has gotten a bad rep in the past, but I feel like people are starting to value their cards a lot more, especially because you can have a credit card setup that is significantly cheaper than the Amex trifecta or the Chase trifecta. For example, the Capital One duo that has everybody excited consists of the Venture X card and the Capital One Savor card. Unlike some of the other cards on the Capital One website, the Savor One card is only available for people with good and excellent credit. On the Savor 1 rewards for good credit and Savor 1 rewards cards, you will earn unlimited 3% cash back on dining, entertainment, popular streaming services, and at grocery stores. You will also earn 1% cash back on all other purchases. Not only that, but you will also earn unlimited 5% cash back on hotel and rental cars booked through Capital One Travel. The reason I think this card is a powerhouse all by itself is that the multipliers are pretty high for a card with no annual fee, and you are able to earn cash back on everyday purchases as well as even higher multipliers on travel, again for no annual fee. And I also really like the entertainment and streaming service multiplier because a lot of people spend hundreds of dollars in those categories alone every single month. And I do want to emphasize that the 5% cash back is only awarded when you book your travel through the Capital One travel portal. And much like the Amex travel portal, sometimes the prices are a lot higher than when you book directly with the hotel. So a good question to ask yourself is, are you willing to pay a little bit more to earn your 5% cash back? When I first applied for my Amex Gold card, I was most excited about the hotel collection credits, and then I discovered that I don't want to book my hotels through the Amex portal. So it's just something that you should think over. There is also a premium version of the Savor card, which is the Savor Rewards card, and it has a $95 annual fee, but you get unlimited 4% cash back on dining, entertainment, and popular streaming services, 3% at grocery stores, and 1% on all other purchases. And of course, you also get the 5% on hotels and rental cars booked through Capital One's travel portal. The second card in this duo is the Venture X Rewards card, and it gives you 10 miles per dollar on hotels and cars booked through the Capital One travel portal, 5 miles per dollar on flights booked through the Capital One travel portal, and 2 miles per dollar on all other purchases. A major pro of this card is the 2 miles per dollar on all other purchases, and depending on how much you spend, earning an extra mile where you would normally only earn one could get you one extra flight every single year. And again, the downside to this card is that to earn these high multipliers, you do have to book your travel through the Capital One travel portal. Well, it's a con to me. It might not be a con for you. But if you are someone who likes to book your hotel stays or your flights directly with that company, you might be better off getting a card that gives you 3 to 5x points or miles no matter where you book your travel. This card also comes with a TSA PreCheck or global entry credit, as well as a priority pass membership, unlimited complimentary access to Capital One lounges for you and 2 guests, and you also get a $300 annual Capital One travel credit. If you book your travel on the Capital One travel portal and take advantage of all the credits, I think this card is more than valuable, even though it has an annual fee of almost $400. And if you want it to stay that way, be on your best behavior. None of the shenanigans that y'all pulled with Amex. But that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.